Some people believe in purpose.
Others believe in people.
Some believe in passion.
While others live in pain.
But the true connecting piece to our peace
is that we create the world
that we want to see. So this is the
art
art
of our story. Tune in.
Let's go.
What's up with it, y'all? What's up with the D-Links fam?
What's going on, you guys?
So I'm here with Duray, and I want to thank her first and foremost because she allowed me to come on her channel and essentially just speak my piece, but also have a nice conversation with her on conformity.
Absolutely.
And everything that we perceive it to be in our lives, things that we've gone through that we had to choose to either overcome or stay and stand in fear in our life. And points where we move forward and points where we stood still, and maybe it took longer for us to move forward, or we're still standing there to figure out, because it's an everyday process. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, we want to share our story with you, but also you connect with us and you share your stories with us. So I'm gonna let her, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, that was beautiful. So because that's kind of course, you know, Michael and I have very many enlightening conversations, but one of the particular conversations that we had was how, you know, certain aspects and conformities that society places on you, how it kind of molds you into this certain person, and how it becomes really, really hard for you to break out and become your own, you know, be in your own, who am I really? And because you've grown up with all these structures around you, you don't really have the ability to truly connect with who you are because you weren't able to discover it in that pure age.
Come on.
You know, when you have the ability to really explore what you like.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Because everybody's like, oh, don't do that. You know, you're a kid. You're not supposed to do that. Don't run here. Don't do this. There's so many don'ts that people tell you that you don't have the ability to fully branch out and really be who you are, really discover who you are.
Right.
So I'm gonna start with you first.
Okay.
So in what aspects do you think that conformity binded you growing up?
Binded me. Is there any specific age?
Nope.
Okay.
I would say anywhere from like your past till now where you felt like, I would say, okay, let me rephrase that then. So in what way do you feel like society, you feel like placed a pressure on you? Even if, okay, let's say from now, you don't have that pressure anymore, but if there's a point in your life where you felt that pressure, that you had to be the certain way, do the certain thing, go on this certain path, you know, what were those pressures and why did they want you to be that way? What did people want from you?
I see.
You know, what were the expectations?
Well, first, I want to start off with giving a little insight to what I see conformity to being.
Okay.
So I watched this video on YouTube today, and it spoke on the psychology of conformity. I sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it yet.
Nice.
So it spoke on this man, I don't remember his name, but 200 years ago, he was living in a world where conformity was still the thing to do, but it was all about war, and it had a picture of stay in line. All of these men lined up, and it seemed to be they were all Caucasian, but they were slightly different shades, so you could tell like they were still implementing anybody and everybody they could use. They didn't really care about color at that point because now you're doing a due diligence to your country, and that's a good Samaritan service to do, essentially, especially at that time and still in this time. So with that being said, he said there's two types of people, where you have people who conform and it's all about fear and acceptance. You just want to feel accepted into a collective group. And because the other people who quote unquote are non-conformers, they go against what is conforming just because they don't want to go into the norm of everybody else.
Okay.
And then I thought about it. I'm like, but then there's a third person too. And eventually later in the video they got to it and said that you have people who are conformers and non-conformers, and then you have people who just choose to be who they are. Not just because they want to be different, but because they take them time to ask themselves those questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What am I here to do? Well, I'm going to follow and believe in that because I don't want to just not do what you're doing because you're doing that. That's still conforming in a way. I'd rather take the time to ask myself those questions and therefore do what I want to do, so therefore I can be who I was meant to be, not being outside of the stencil of what I'm supposed to be.
Right, and then kind of living with purpose in the why.
Exactly.
You know, there's so much, I feel like there's so much more power when you can clearly say like, this is why I'm doing this, you know. But most of the time, if you ask a person, why did you do that? Well, because everybody else did it, or that's what I was told to do, or that's what it was expected of me, rather than saying like confidently, like, I chose this because I wanted to, because I explored all these options, and this is what I found to be the right thing for me to do for myself. Most people, you're right, don't take the time to ask those questions. It's a very small minority, I would feel like, who actually go out of the way to do that. And I honestly believe that it is like, I don't know what allows people to reach that point. Like, I can say for me personally, like my relationship with Leonard right now was my catalyst, right? To break me from that generational, like, this is going to continue to happen.
Come on.
So I was blessed, you know, by an external source that came into my life that allowed me to break that, you know?
Yeah.
So what would you say was yours? What was your push that allowed you to, like, see differently or break different or realize, like, maybe this is not what I should be doing, and this is not who I really am? Was there something that really went into it? Or was it more of like a gradual?
I'm gonna answer both questions, because like I answered the question when I was speaking personally about what it was that I was able to break from as far as those pressures of conformity, and I'm gonna answer that with your second question of how I was able to get through it.
Okay, perfect.
So essentially, I, first name Devin, definitely went through different challenges in my life, but I always felt that I was blessed. I always felt like no matter what, like, I still had love in my life. And I always underliningly knew that, but I didn't always love myself. So I really feel like, if I'm being simple and concise, that was my biggest challenge. Not loving myself.
Wow. Which I feel like a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
So what made you not love yourself? Were there certain aspects about you that you didn't like that made you feel like you weren't worthy?
I just feel like I was never taught to. My mother always like told me about the different processes she went through to care and take that time for herself, but it was different seeing a woman love herself and me not seeing any true men take that time to love every single piece of themselves. I have men in my life that handle their business, but to love the emotional, the mental, the physical, and spiritual part of yourself holistically, I didn't see that example in my life.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Men don't, and a majority of men don't do that. I feel like they play this masculine image, you know, that my emotions, you know, I'm not supposed to feel them, I'm not supposed to cry, I'm not supposed to feel a certain way, I'm supposed to be strong. Wow.
So like when I was younger, I'm not gonna lie, I've always been sensitive.
Wow.
So when I was like really, really young, like I remember back in 4th grade, it was me and this guy named Malik. He played basketball now. Shout out Malik. We used to like play around and just like joke around in class. We were very, very smart kids. We would get our work done. We would like to just joke around, and I'd be that person that like I wouldn't initiate the being distracted and getting off task.
Being bad.
But I go along with it a little bit. I ain't gonna lie to you. So once we got in trouble, the teacher, Miss Herndon, she used to call to us and be like, "Boy, get over here. I know your mama. You know she wouldn't like you doing this, Because she knew she used to go to high school with her. Oh, so I immediately be like, damn, I don't think it's joke. And I freeze up and I start crying.
Oh man, because you felt like,
because I'm like, my mama don't play that. Like, come on.
No, dude, I was the same way. I would be so scared. There's no way I would ever act up in school because I wouldn't be care. I would not care about detention, what the teacher had to say. I knew I would have to go home to my mom.
Come on.
And this woman is 5 foot, like round, cute as a button. But when she smacked, oh god.
Ooh.
It was horrible. That was my biggest fear, is getting whooped by her, and it was intense. Yeah, I would cry before I even got home because I knew what I was going into.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I feel you on that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So then dealing with that, but then on my father's side of things, like if I was going through a lot emotionally, and then he can come off very aggressive, just being how he was raised in his environment. I remember being in the car with him at times. And if he had already had a lot going on, but then I was dealing with my own stuff, I wasn't always vocal about it, I would realize he would speak to me in certain manners that evoked and poked at the emotion I felt but didn't express. So because I wasn't speaking on it, my spirit just moved me to release somehow.
Wow.
And it came out in tears, and the way he would look at me, I felt ashamed to cry.
Oh no.
And it made me be like, damn, like, But it's like I don't blame him because it's like
right. It's
he
not
didn't
his
know.
fault.
He
Yeah,
didn't
because
know.
you didn't express, and you didn't even have the understanding of what really was going on. 'Cause
Yeah,
you were too young.
I just felt it.
Wow.
I just felt it. So it came to a point. I'm like, damn, like I'm learning of how to deal with emotions from a woman. But then when I go and express those emotions in front of my father,
you feel ashamed.
Exactly. So it's like, is it okay to express my emotions? Am I supposed to be doing it in this way? I was asking myself these questions, but I wasn't getting any answers. So
At
I
that
felt
young of an
conflicted.
age.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was very, very conflicted. I didn't know to give into the sensitive side of myself or not. And I felt like I always knew like I'm attracted to women and everything, but it's like in that connotation, it's not even as accepted as it is now. But it's like, are you gay for being emotional, for being sensitive? And it's like, no, I'm not.
No.
I'm just I feel these things and I have to express them, or they bottle up inside me and they kill me slowly.
That is deep. That you can even feel that at that young of an age, and you can. Kids understand
They feel
a lot.
We feel a lot.
And yes, and you observe a lot. You know, like people think like, you know, oh, they're kids. You know, they're not gonna understand. We observe everything. That's why like it's tough being a parent, because if you got children, they will watch every single thing that you do. Things that you feel like they don't even know the meaning of, they know. You know, and even if they don't process it now, there will be a point in their life where they will reach and develop the ability to go back and reflect on that moment, and then they'll piece it together. You know what I mean?
Oh, dang, this is what was going on.
That's exactly. And I was like that. I was that kid who at a very young age, I knew exactly what was going on. You know, you can understand like you said, the spiritual connection, like even though you may not be able, because if you're young, you don't know exactly why this is happening, but you can recognize pain, you can recognize frustration, you can sense that, oh, something's not right, or this is happiness, this is not happiness. So that's interesting that you say that. So then okay, go from there. So you recognize that you're in a conflict. You know, I can show my emotions to my mom, I can't show it in front of my dad because I feel ashamed. So okay, keep going.
So from there, I have to be thankful truly to God and Uni, because I look at my source as a counterpart, as partners, as a being, as one. But if you had to identify different things with different things throughout my life, it'd be male and female, masculine and feminine energy. Masculine being God and feminine being Uni. Because I grew up with my mother, so I have a strong feminine connection with my source of feminine energy. But I also have had a longing love with the masculine side. It just hasn't always been as strong of a connection with the feminine side.
Because you lack that figure in your life.
Exactly. So with that being said, I had an inner voice. Even at a young age, and I remember it so vividly. Like, I'm going to skip to the point where I didn't hear it anymore. From being born, coming into this existence, all the way up until being 8. August 26th.
You remember the date?
I don't remember the year. It'll come to me. I was turning 9 though. I was born in 98. As soon as I turned 9, that voice in my head just like shut off. I proceeded to just shut off. Throughout all these years, throughout all the emotional trauma I was inflicting upon myself because I wasn't releasing, because of the confliction and conviction I was going through, I always had that voice to come back to that told me it's going to be okay.
And then it just turned off one day?
One day I just didn't hear it, and I'm like, what happened? Like, you left me, like how your mother felt, like abandoned, like the one thing you did identify and tie with that you could like
to rely on
was gone.
Wow.
And when I think about it, like that was the initial moment where I'm like, I gotta depend on me. Internally. Externally, I was still a kid living with my mom and of course and everything, but it's like at that moment internally when I was going through those battles that I showed no one, but that voice always witnessed everything I went through, was gone.
Why?
Why
did you just leave?
That is the question. Your kids are not you. Your kids are just a product of you. They are just an extension of your love. That's all it is. But you have to allow that love to grow. If you hold on to it, and it's not love, it's attachment, it is dependency. And just like that voice in my head, when you depend on it, it goes away. If you don't want it to leave you permanently, you have to trust that it is there for you to help you, but not to be you. Only you can be you.